Long before Parliament-Funkadelic became a cultural movement, this man stood at the front of the parliaments delivering smooth, commanding lead vocals that helped shape the group's early identity. His voice carried soul, confidence, and charisma, the kind of presence that turned harmony into history. While George Clinton would become the visionary architect of P-Funk, it was this man who helped give the sound its first voice, leading records that bridged doo-wop roots with funk revolution to come. Yet, as the story of Parliament expanded and evolved, and his role quietly faded from the mainstream narrative despite his foundational importance, this is a story of a man whose voice laid down the foundation for funk music, but whose name often gets left out the spotlight. The centerpiece of today's video is all about Grady Thomas. Now, if you guys love my videos and love supporting me, then I suggest you become a member of the channel where I will be releasing exclusive videos just for you all. Be sure to get that family tier so you won't miss out on these exclusive perks. If you guys would love to connect with me outside of YouTube, then I am officially announcing that I am on Discord. Here, you can provide me with feedback on my recent uploads. You could drop your suggestions for future videos, or if you just want to chat it up about videos or about music in general, or just about anything, we could do it here. We could do it together. I hope to see you there. Now, before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more content. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro. Born on January 5th, 1941 in Newark, New Jersey, Thomas was musically interested from a young age. He began playing drums on pots and pans by the age of 9. Then he progressed to the bongos. His father played the saxophone, and like every child who looks up to their father, he aspired to play the same instrument. Unfortunately, his father gave him the clarinet, which he despised, but it's what also motivated him to sing. Thomas came up in the 50s, when harmony groups ruled Black American music. Doo-wop wasn't just entertainment, it was survival, identity, and community. Singing on street corners and local halls. At Cleveland Junior High, Thomas and his friend Calvin Simon sang together. Grady developed a powerful, emotional lead style that was smooth, confident, and commanding. He wasn't flashy, he was solid, dependable, and a natural frontman. In an era where voices mattered more than image, Thomas stood out, and it wouldn't be long before that voice found the right partner. Sometime in the 50s, Thomas moved to Plainfield, New Jersey. When Thomas crossed paths with George Clinton, something clicked. Clinton had the vision, Grady had the presence, and together they formed the Parliaments, a vocal group rooted in doo-wop but open to evolution. They picked up Fuzzy Haskins from another band along the way. While Grady played the role of a bass vocalist, it wasn't too soon before they saw Ray Davis, who was singing bass with another group, and they all was blown away by his sound, and they just had to make room for him. It's important to remember that Thomas was present not only for the formation of the Parliaments, but also their backing band, Funkadelic. Grady became one of the group's defining voices, anchoring the sound while Clinton experimented behind the scenes. At this stage, Parliament wasn't just about funk, it was about harmony, soul, and precision. But a change was coming. During the group's early days, Thomas worked a regular job. He worked at a record plant delivering records to stores. Then, in 1967, everything changed when I Want to Testify became a hit. This song was raw, energetic, and it put the Parliaments on the national map. Thomas' vocals helped drive that success, bringing authority and emotion to the record. For a moment, it looked like the group was heading towards mainstream soul stardom. But behind the scenes, industry politics, contracts, name disputes, and creative restlessness was already shaping the future. As the music industry shifted from the late 60s, George Clinton began pushing beyond limits of traditional vocal groups. Guitars got louder, rhythms got heavier, and psychedelia entered the room. The Parliament slowly transformed into Parliament and Funkadelic, less of a group and more of a collective. For Grady Thomas, this era marked a turning point. As funk evolved into something wilder and more experimental, some original members found themselves stepping back from the new direction, not because they lacked the talent, but because the music itself was changing. However, throughout the success, there was red signals that was not always addressed promptly. According to Thomas, several other vocal hooks that Clinton later claimed credit for originated during live performances. Some of these songs was composed on the spot during their live performances and later recorded in the studio without the group, which led to a lot of members of the P-Funk collective not getting their proper credit. As Parliament Funkadelic exploded into a cultural force into the 70s, Grady Thomas was no longer at the center of the movement. While others embraced the costumes, mythology, and the chaos of P-Funk, Grady's role belonged to the foundation of the early chapters that made everything else possible. And like many pioneers, his contributions was quietly absorbed into a larger legend. History moved forward, the spotlight shifted, but the roots remained. By the late 70s, things no longer felt lovely. George had brought in so many band members and interconnected musical entities that the original felt pushed to the sidelines, with little finance to show for it. So, Fuzzy, Calvin, and Grady formed a new band. They secured a deal and they released an album that was called Connections and Disconnections in 1980. The album has since been reissued under a new name, Who's a Funkadelic. The group's name, Funkadelic, turned out to be a legal issue that irritated George. Grady will occasionally return to sing with the P-Funk All-Stars, but he eventually left to form a new group with other fellas. At this time, they took Ray Davis along in the name Conglomerate Original P, which included all Parliaments except for Clinton. In 1998, they recorded an album for Wes Brown Records called What Dat Shakin'. After the release of this album, they took the act on the road. In 1997, Prince inducted him and 14 other founding members of Parliament Funkadelic into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Grady was also present at the Grammy Awards, where he received a Lifetime Achievement Award. Thomas has overcome professional and personal hurdles throughout his life, including eye surgery, a stroke, and congenital heart failure. He's truly a living legend. Without Grady Thomas, there's no Parliament. Without Parliament, there's no Funkadelic. Without Funkadelic, there's no P-Funk mythology. And no funk revolution as we know it. Grady represented the bridge between doo-wop and funk, between harmony-driven soul and that genre that would redefine black music, fashion, and identity for decades. His legacy isn't loud, it's foundational. Music history often celebrates the visionaries, but they rarely celebrate the builders. Grady Thomas was a builder. He helped create the platform that allowed the funk to explode, even if he wasn't there when the fireworks went off. And that makes his story so essential. Because to understand funk, you have to understand where it came from and who helped carry it there. Grady Thomas didn't need a mothership. He didn't need mythology. His voice was enough. This video isn't about reclaiming fame. It's about restoring the memories and honoring the man whose work made history possible, even when history forgot their names. Now, as I stated in my last video, I love to give flowers to my legends while they can still smell them. Now, before we go, I have a question for you all. What is your favorite song from Parliament Funkadelic or the original P?